Welcome back to Operation Football Preview. Kayler Smith, Joey DeBerardino here with your two sports team, and we're heading into week 5, if you can believe it, of the high school football season.
Halfway.
I was thinking about it before the week started. I can't believe it's week 5 already because it's only early September, and how are we halfway through the regular season already? And then when I've gone and talked to some teams this week, I was pleasantly surprised to hear them echo my sentiment. The coaches also cannot believe it's already week 5.
No, I can't either. And it's flying by, and feels like a lot has happened at the same time. Nothing. We're still kind of scratching the surface of some of these teams really finding their footing. Conference play, like we mentioned, just starting for a handful of our main leagues here in town. So yeah, it feels like we've seen 4 weeks, and we have plenty more to go, obviously, but it's crazy to think we're already halfway through the regular season.
And that just must mean the playoffs are forever if it goes all the way to December.
Yep, first weekend of December is always is the state championship. So
because we're looking at a mid-October end of season right now, mid to late October. So there's a whole almost month and a half of playoffs. That's crazy.
Yeah, week 5 is looking like, look at the schedule. Week 6 is October 20th to the 20th, or I'm sorry, week 10, October 20th to the 26th, though. Just rounding out Halloween time, and then right after Halloween is we're into playoffs. So, yeah, it's pretty wild. Back in Michigan, it was always state championship was Thanksgiving weekend.
That's how Missouri is, too.
Yeah, so.
And then in Texas, it's the other way, where state championships are like the week before Christmas.
Okay.
But the regular season starts like a week later than here also, and it goes 11 weeks.
Wow.
Because everybody gets a bye.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's wild, and it moves quick, but and obviously we finally got to a pretty exciting G-Walk 1-2 for a game of the week for week 4 that you got to be at.
That's right. And what we thought was probably going to be a little bit of a better and tighter matchup ended up not being, actually. Wayne beat Springboro really handily, 48-23, and honestly, it was really never close, and it really never felt like Springboro was in this one. Wayne just kind of dominated on all 3 phases of the game from the jump, starting with this play. I mean, this was their second play from scrimmage on offense, 74 yards for a touchdown, and then they just kind of rolled on from there. Let's take a look at some of the totals here. Wayne had 604 total yards of offense.
Wow.
Springboro did have 402, so it's not like they weren't moving the ball. They just weren't getting much out of it, and some of that might have come in garbage time as well. Yeah,
I mean, when you look at, too, for the receivers for Wayne, how about Jameer Everett-Brown, the Ohio State commit? 7 catches, 118 yards, averaging 16.9. Had the touchdown. His long was 65.
But he also had a late rushing touchdown as well, 72 yards.
Which is nuts, too, because then you look at, okay, that sounds great, but then you look at, I'll let you say his name because you were there for the game, Samarian
Srofe.
There you go.
Might be Samarian, but Srofe.
Yeah, Samarian Srofe, 6 catches, 151 receiving yards.
And 2 touchdowns.
And 2 touchdowns with a long of 82 yards, which was, of course, our big play of the night, averaging 25.2 yards per catch. So, and then, of course, the big run here from their running back, Isaiah Thompson. 19 rushing attempts, 164 yards. This 73-yard touchdown. So, I mean, Wayne just firing on all cylinders and really looking now like kind of the team to beat in the G-Walk. We like you mentioned, going into this, we thought that Springboro and Wayne kind of were representative of the 2 teams that we really had our eye on this year. And, Springboro, of course, gonna, have plenty to play for this season. This one loss doesn't, end their chances for the G-Walk in any way, shape, or form. But, I mean, you really saw that Wayne offense on full display, Kayler.
Yeah, that's right. And, the last 2 matchups between these 2 teams were very, very lopsided towards Springboro. So it was a surprise to see them come out and get punched in the mouth so hard early in the game. But something that, teams don't want to use it as an excuse, of course, because then it's seen as an excuse. But it really is a reason why maybe some of those games were so lopsided, is that Wayne wasn't healthy. They felt those 2 years, they felt like they had a lot of injuries going into those Springboro games in the last 2 years. So now finally being at full strength, even though with a sophomore quarterback, the skill players really showed up, and they actually got 2 interceptions as well, 3 interceptions, 2 from Sean Heisel. And it was really one of those late interceptions from Sean Heisel that like sealed it in the third or fourth quarter. And one of them was a pick six, actually. So
Wayne, the one from Sean Heisel was pick six. Yeah,
he had a pick six and he had another interception in the end zone, actually. Wow. So, and that was in the fourth quarter, I believe. So that really just kind of sealed it. And so Wayne getting it done on every side of the ball. Just impressed by just how much they were able to come out and put it to him. And what was odd is that they never really kind of fly over here.
I was waiting for him to land on your face.
I think it touched my leg earlier and I was like, what is that?
You know, they're going to clip that for the promo.
What was I going to say?
I forgot. I was locked in on that flight too. I'm like, oh gosh.
Yeah. They never let up. They never
just started
running the ball.
Yeah.
No, they kept it. They came out of the second half, and what was their lead at the half? So in the third quarter, quick math here. 1 second. Let's pull up the calculator.
They were up 27-17. At half.
And then they had scored their 48 points by the third quarter. No points were scored by either team in the fourth quarter. So anyways, they had a big lead early in the second half, but despite that, they actually had a 30-point lead at one point because the clock started running.
Right. Yep. They were up.
And Wayne just kept taking shots. And it's like, what are we doing, guys? Can we just close this one out? Let's just call it a day.
For our purposes in TV, we're like, come on.
Speed it up. We gotta show.
Contrary to covering Fairmont, when you're like, oh wow, it's 7:30 and we're at halftime. But no, I mean it's great to see Wayne healthy. They've always had extremely talented players. Coach Meeks does a great job developing those guys over there. And yeah, I mean, 27-10 at halftime is a very winnable ball game for Springboro as well. But then Wayne just really turned it up a notch. It was
27-10, but it did not feel close at all. It just felt like Springboro couldn't get anything going. It felt like they were hardly moving the ball down the field. That one play that they scored on, you saw in those highlights, was that really big play.
Yeah.
In the first half, and just aside from that, it just felt like they couldn't really get much going offensively.
Yeah, and for a sophomore quarterback too, for Kai Graham. 17 out of 27 completions, 318 yards, and 4 touchdowns with no interceptions.
Yep.
Extremely poised and confident. Everything you want to see for a young quarterback. So Wayne, obviously, making a statement. This is everything we thought this Wayne team could be this year. Going at practice, they had said, maybe people are overlooking us because of the talent that we graduated, but.
They still have a lot of talent.
You look at all the guys they have back, and arguably the best player in the state, and he's a junior, and Jameer Everett Brown. And, all three phases just seem to really be on full display. And what better to team, it's not like, and not to, go against any other team in the area or any other team in the GWAC, but it's not like this was a game that they were supposed to roll over. I mean, Springboro has proven that they were one of the top teams in the area as well. They only have a 21-7 loss to Elder, 21-7 loss to Mason as their 2 losses entering last week before they lost to Wayne, and then they had beat Edgewood 38-0. So, I mean, they had played 2 tough teams in Mason and specifically Elder and only lost by 2 touchdowns in that. So,
and with the way that the rest of the GWAC is shaping out,
right.
It appears to be, we talked about this off air, it appears to be a little bit of a down year collectively for the GWAC, and so it really looks like it's Wayne's to lose.
I think
right
I
now.
saw something entering, and I didn't get a chance to go through this myself, but assuming someone was right, I believe the GWAC was 5-19 through 3 weeks.
And granted, they did play a lot of good teams, including Wayne. I mean, Wayne played the 3 out of 4 time defending state champion St. Ed's before heading into conference play. So
Pick Central, Fairfield. I mean, they were playing. And then when you look at those games
Centerville's
too,
still winless.
Centerville is still winless. So that's what I was going to do next is quickly kind of go through. But quickly, I want to touch on Wayne just because. Oh gosh, he must like football, so he wants to be a part. How about Wayne? They have been in some extreme offensive battles. So their first game, they won 31-24 against Fairfield, lost to Pick Central 38-28, lost to St. Ed, the powerhouse, 63-27, still putting up 27 points at 63 points against St. Ed. I mean, it's just tough. They're just incredible every year. And then they beat Springboro 48-23. So their points against, they've allowed 148 points against them this year to 134 points for them, which is only second to Beaver Creek,
Beaver Creek has scored a ton.
135 points for. And again,
Beaver Creek had that 62-point game
yep.
at one point in the season.
And this is not to shade Beaver Creek in any way. Trey Smitherman is in his second year now. They always have a great turnout of kids. It's always been surprising to them and everybody in the area that it's just they kind of don't have a luck of the draw of like, a Jameer Everett Brown or a Tavian St. Clair, or whoever will have. He's on my side now.
Yeah, I see it.
Growing up in Beaver Creek, so they've had to work with what they have, as do a lot of other teams. But to see Beaver Creek 1-0 in the conference, along with only Wayne, Fairmont, and Springfield, and the only one of three teams that are 2-2 overall: Springboro, Wayne, and Beaver Creek, who's been the bottom of the GWAC for as long as I've been here. So congratulations to them. Obviously, still a lot more seasons ago as they get in the heart of the GWAC, but they seem like they're having one of their best years, and they are.
Just the way they looked, it looks like it's going to be Wayne's to lose.
Yeah. I would think
we'll see what happens when it's different play styles. I haven't seen how they look against like a Fairmont style offense, ground and pound.
It's hard to tell about any teams who they are because that's why the GWAC there's so much continuity, and there's so much variation because one game, and this is just for example, you'll see Centerville face Fairmont, which we did, and Fairmont completely just dominate.
Yeah.
And then you'll go see Centerville and Wayne, for example, the following week, just go at it.
Fairmont loses to a team like Alter,
and then Fairmont will lose to a team like Alter, or you will see, this week a great test then, because guess what? Fairmont and Wayne play Week 5 on Friday. So can Wayne stop that run from Fairmont? Is the Fairmont defense going to be able to keep up with the speed and the athleticism of the Wayne offense? So this is where we really learn a lot about. And it's so funny, we always use Fairmont as like kind of the measuring stick because they're
different than anybody else in the conference. And I'm going to call my shot now. I think if Wayne wins this game over Fairmont,
I think so,
the GWAC is Wayne's.
I think so as well. If they keep doing what they're doing, they stay healthy, something they unfortunately
it's a good point.
Were not
it's a good point.
Last year. They were without their star quarterback basically the entire season. Their other star player, Jameer Everett Brown, was an impactful player, but he's obviously was a sophomore last year, and really one of their big stars was Tion Hunter, and he was injured, and they had to put him at quarterback every now and then, so it just wasn't a great scenario and way for Wayne. Obviously, once they got healthy, they made a pretty decent playoff run where they eventually saw Centerville in an exciting game that I got to be at for the first half for a regional final, which Centerville won, and they went on to lose to Moeller. But yeah, I mean, the GWAC is always an exciting one. It's always competitive. But to see Beaver Creek up there, 1-0 in the conference after beating Northmont 34-0, that's 2 shutout wins now for Beaver Creek.
The first one was the 62-0?
62-0 over Woodward. And their losses are they should be proud of what they did in those losses. Everybody thought Xenia was going to go in there and roll Beaver Creek, as they have the last few years. Beaver Creek was leading 14-7 at one point in that game. They only lost 27-18 to an extremely talented Xenia team. They went on to beat Cincinnati Woodward 62-0. They lost to Harrison, a very good team from Cincinnati, only 28-21. And they won their first GWAC game 34-0. And the last time they had won a GWAC game prior to last year when they picked up their first was 2017. So it's now 2 wins, GWAC wins, within a span of a handful of years under Smitherman since he took over. So, in talking to him, he runs that triple option too. So trying to switch guys over into that offense can be difficult and, can take some time. So they have Miamisburg at home, a very winnable game for them. I think 2 very evenly matched teams in the GWAC. Miamisburg is 1-3. They lost to Springfield. So Springfield is finally getting their first win in the GWAC, taking down Miamisburg 37-0 last week. I think we can't obviously ever rule out a Springfield team because they are always so talented and so well coached under Maurice Douglas. 3 straight Division I state championship appearances tell us that. Even when they didn't have
in the last 4 years,
right? Even when they didn't even have a not counting last year. So prior to last year, it was 3 in a row. Bryce Schottenmeyer was quarterback for 2 of them, and then Aaron Scott, the cornerback at Ohio State, was quarterback for that 3rd year, which was just crazy because they didn't have really anybody, and it worked. So we'll see what Springfield does. They have Centerville this week, so should be a great game. That should be a good test because Centerville's in a similar boat, but a smaller boat. They're 0-4 for the first time since 2018.
Boat.
I didn't know what to really compare it to because Springfield does have the one win now. But yeah, Centerville 0-4 for the first time since 2018. First year with John Puckett as the head guy. Tough losses to Lakota East, St. Xavier, Carmel, and then the 20-17 close loss to Fairmont last week, which we were at as well. So it'll be interesting to see how Centerville bounces
and
back as
Miamisburg's
well.
only win over Chaminade Julian right now, who also is winless.
Absolutely. So I could see Beaver Creek and Miamisburg in a very close game. That is going to be one of our games that we will have as well coming up this Friday. So should be exciting highlights for that. And then Northmont and Springboro play. Northmont also seeking their first win. They're 0-4, kind of in a rebuild year as well under new head coach Ben Ruley. So hopefully Springboro, or not hopefully rather, but for Springboro, hopefully they can bounce back, and hopefully for Northmont they can try to get
something rolling.
Get that first win for the T-Bolt. So that's kind of the state of the G-Walk right now. And like I mentioned, we're going to have that Wayne and Fairmont game coming up on Friday for Week 5. We're going to have Miamisburg and Beaver Creek, as well as many other games. We're going to get into those coming up after the break, including our Week 5 game of the week. It's Bellbrook and Alter. This is always a good one, and we got to find out why this is such a big rivalry, Kayler. These two teams...
I'll be getting to the bottom of it today.
We're going to find out because they do not like each other, and
it's
two very similar styles. So we're excited for this one, and we're going to have more on the Knights and Golden Eagles squaring off this Friday right after the break.
Welcome back to Operation Football Preview. We'll transition to a little preview of the Week 5 games coming up on Friday, as well as looking at some of the other conferences that we haven't gotten to touch on yet. Mm-hmm. Our game of the week is Bellbrook Alter, a pair of 2-2 teams that are playing for the third year in a row now. Both teams has had a win in that stretch. Bellbrook won the last one 17-7, so a very tight, low-scoring game. So a lot of defense, maybe, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you look at what these two teams have done, Bellbrook 2-2 overall, and Alter 2-2 overall. So, I mean, these are, two disciplined, kind of gritty teams, great defenses, for Ed Domsight's Knights and Jeff Jenkins' Golden Eagles. Just quickly looking back, Alter, obviously that exciting win over Fairmont to open the year 28-21. Heartbreaker to Taft in overtime in Week 2, 33-27. They bounced back with a big win, taking down Linton Stockton in Indiana, which was a state champion.
I believe that's what Ed told me. It was either a state runner-up or a state champion in Indiana. So they won that one 35-0. And then a tough loss to a very good Trotwood Madison team that no one can seem to beat, obviously. Trotwood 4-0. Jeff Graham and the Rams buzzing. Yeah, 20-6 though. Low-scoring defensive battle again for that one. So clearly that Alter defense is. That's probably the fewest points Trotwood has scored all year.
Yeah, which it probably is. Trotwood, I can probably.
Fairmont held him to 22.
Let's take a look. We have to go to Max Preps for Trotwood because they're no longer one of our conference teams, which is a shame. They deserve to be in a conference.
I'm going to say that was the lowest they've scored all year because Fairmont was a low-scoring game.
Springfield was, that's right, because that Springfield game was really good. 16-13. They edged Springfield. So second lowest, though, and right in a row. But Trotwood's been in a couple really close battles, though, honestly. They only won over Fairmont 22-21.
That was on a last-second 2-point conversion.
Right, which was our game of the week for Week 2. And then they beat Springfield 16-13. And then they only beat 20-6 is, it's not considered a blowout, but it's a two-score game, and it's a defensive battle. So really anything could have kind of turned the tides there for Alter. So, Alter coming in, should be pleased with where they're at. I'm sure they're not, like any team wouldn't be. They want to be 4-0. But, and then same with Bellbrook. They've had some
ups and downs.
Yeah, it's showing. This is where the swabble always. It's showing Bellbrook hasn't played a single Southwestern Buckeye League game yet, but they played Valley View. But Valley View isn't their division, so I think they really just aren't even counting it in the conference record because the Swabble does it like that, where they do the head-to-head. So if they're tied, where in the GWalk or the MVL, you share it, but in the Swabble, if you beat that team or you have the head-to-head or whatever it is, you get it. So
Bellbrook started off the year in our first game of the week with a 21-0 loss to Tippecanoe.
And then they followed that up with a 34-0 win over Bellefontaine. Tough game, though, to lose to a really good Valley View team, though. That's always a really kind of good Swabble rivalry between those two. 31-14 there, and then they took out all their anger from that game, unfortunately, on Chaminade-Julienne, who's still winless, 41-0 in that game.
Okay, quick question on Chaminade-Julienne, because that's the second shutout that I know of off the top of my head they suffered.
They have
they scored a point?
They have. They were shut out to Miamisburg 34-0 week 1. Lost to Withrow, pretty decent team out of Cincinnati though. Honestly, 36-7. Lost to Taft 56-7, and then lost to Bellbrook 41-0.
So Chaminade-Julienne has scored 2 touchdowns this year.
2 touchdowns this year.
That's
so
tough.
Yeah, and Marcus Colfrin's returned. He's a great coach. I don't know if the talent level is there for this team this year, unfortunately, but they. 5 more games left, can completely turn it around and still, make themselves a playoff team. But they're going to need to, start winning soon. But for Alter, they're, right behind Baden, kind of tied. They're tied with Fenwick and McNick in the GCL co-ed, though, all 2-2 overall. But the GCL hasn't even played a conference game yet either. So. Not until week 6. Obviously, because it's a little bit of a smaller conference. There's only 6 teams. But, Baden 4-0 in that one. Alter, Fenwick, and McNick 2-1.
Makes sense why this game is happening then. That was one thing that I asked head coach Jeff Jenkins of Bellbrook. I was like, kind of interesting that you're taking a break from league play to go out of conference. And we can start talking about it, I guess, because these two teams do not like each other, apparently. Which was a surprise to me when I got there and heard some of the things that were being said. It's kind of that public school, private school type of vibe. That's what they said. Coach
they
Jeff
must have played a lot, too, back in the day that we aren't seeing records yet for, which we're going to find out from Ed Domsites. No better record book in the Miami Valley than him.
So that's the interesting thing. They've only played twice as far as I could go back, which was about 13 years, and both of those games were in the last 2 years. So they've only played twice, and it's been the most 2 recent seasons. But they consider one another rivals. They talked about the fact that it's obviously the private school, public school thing. Jeff Jenkins believes that there's some folks on Alter's team that are from the Bellbrook area, and so a lot of these kids do know each other, but also kind of that element of both teams being ground and pound, smash mouth football, just like we talked about with Fairmont Alter week 1, just kind of that gritty, old school football type of game.
Right. And when you look at these two team schedules, too, I don't think anybody in the area between these two has a tougher non-conference slate than Alter and Bellbrook. Bellbrook opens the year with arguably the best team in the NVL in Tippecanoe. Then they go play Bellefontaine. They win that game handily at 34-0, but Bellefontaine has kind of emerged with the St. Clair brothers being at quarterback, 2 talented players. Then they play at Valley View, and then they have Chaminade, who's having a down year, but a team that is typically a tough team in the GCL. And then they play another team right away in the GCL in Alter. And then looking at Alters, they start with Fairmont, a tough GWalk team, a Division I team.
The reigning GWalk champion.
The reigning GWalk champion.
Co-GWalk champion.
And they win that game. They play Taft, an extremely tough team from Cincinnati, who is always extremely good, and really a game they should have won. They were ahead, I want to say, 2 scores going into the fourth quarter, and just kind of had a little bit of a meltdown there in overtime. And then they lose a close one to undefeated Trotwood Madison, and then you got to go play Bellbrook. So, I mean,
remember last year, I think Alter was only 5-5 exiting the regular season.
Correct.
And it was kind of similar. They won 2 games of their first 5 or 6 last year.
Yep.
So, and then they made a deep playoff run.
Yeah.
So
they kept alternating loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, and then 2 back-to-back wins to end the regular season to finish 5-5 before the playoffs, before they eventually went on to see Taft in the regional final.
Yeah.
So
if that's the game that got eliminated, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
They made it to the
regional first
final.
round, regional second round, semifinal, final. Yes. So, this game has all the makings for a great game of the week. I don't know how it would ever. We haven't done really predictions on this show, but I don't know how you could ever predict this game. Two evenly matched teams, kind of like,
and they've just both had such different results,
right?
Varying results that it's been hard to tell. I want to say that I would give Alter the edge just with their ability to score at least.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't been shut out. They have been.
Right.
They only scored 6 on Trotwood, but other than that, they've been able to score pretty much at will. And they also there was something, and maybe it's just it's like when you see your NFL team week 1 and then you've made up your mind about that team.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about Alter. Seeing the way that they won at Fairmont week 1, it hasn't left my mind. It was just so gritty and electric and such a high point.
Right.
So
I
just think they can dig deep a little is what I'm trying to say.
And it's so funny because
they have that an indescribable quality.
Yeah, the it factor. And it's so funny you mentioned that because that's how I feel. And I think the Alter's a fantastic team, but I haven't seen them like you have because you've been at the game of the week, or we were at all of the Battle of Kettering the way. And I was at the Bellbrook win over Bell Fountain where I saw the most fired up Jeff Jenkins and a Bellbrook sideline that was just like, I mean, I thought they were going to kill each other because of how excited and...
See, and I saw the week 1 Bellbrook team that had no energy at all, couldn't even get in the end zone, in garbage time, couldn't even get in the end zone.
And was really defeated over that loss at tip. So we've seen 2 different versions, or I guess I haven't seen a different version of Alter. I've only obviously seen, what they did from the highlights, but that's why this is going to be game of the week, and it makes it so much exciting for us too.
Should be a toss-up.
It should be a toss-up, and we'll have all our attention and eyes. And quickly before we wrap up this show, we'll take a look at the rest of our slate. Like I mentioned, Wayne and Fairmont, 2 of the GWOC's best, both coming off very big emotional wins. Fairmont a little bit more that close one over Centerville. We're also going to have Troy at Fairborn. Troy, of course, taking down Piqua in the 141st battle on the Miami. We're also going to have Miamisburg at Beaver Creek, as I mentioned, 2 very comparable GWOC teams as well. But could be another
a good upset win for Beaver Creek.
Beaver Creek, yeah. I would almost think that Beaver Creek could be favored in that game, just the way they've been playing. Also going to have a couple MVL games, Piqua, West Carrollton, 2 teams kind of struggling to get going, but could be a very even matchup for those 2. Miami East at Bethel, little 3 Rivers Conference action. 2 teams doing well. Miami East is 3-1, Bethel 2-2. So both coming off a win, and Miami East riding 2 consecutive wins. So we'll give a little TRC love over there. And then also Tippecanoe at Butler. Obviously, Tippecanoe continues to roll this year, 4-0. One of the only couple undefeated teams this year in our area. How about 157 points for the Red Devils this year? That leads the MVL, and only 20 points against. The next closest...
In 4 games.
In 4 games. Next closest is Butler. 47 points they've only allowed against them. They've only scored 75. That's kind of in the middle area of the MVL. But those 2 facing off. Butler 3-1. Tippecanoe 4-0. This one at Butler. Butler responding to that 20-0 shutout loss to Xenia, kind of the heartbreaker. That was our game of the week in week 3. They bounced back with a 31-6 win over Sydney. So a chance for maybe Butler to pull off a stunner over Tippecanoe.
That would be huge, and that would really shake things up in the MVL too, because it's definitely a 3-horse race between Tip, Butler, and Xenia.
Yep, and that's right. And specifically in the overall, but at least for the Miami, Troy right there as well, also 3-0 in the Miami division. So right now for the Miami division title, Tip and Troy locked in a 3-0 duel. And Troy also looking solid again. They took down Piqua. Their only loss was to Middletown in an 8-point loss in week 1. They have Fairborn this week. We're also going to have that game. Fairborn also having a pretty solid year. They're 3-1. So maybe not like flashy games on paper, but I mean, when you look at the comparability of these teams, I think there's a lot to be excited about here for week 5.
I think so too, Joey.
So we're going to be at all these games. We're going to have all the highlights for you this Friday night. Kayler will be bringing us all the action from the sidelines for Bellbrook and Alta for our game of the week. And all these games and all the scores We'll see you next week for the preview, but we're getting excited for week 5 of Operation Football. Well, Friday Night Football is coming back at us again, Kayler.
Here we go.
We'll see you out there on the gridiron again.